I grade things in a light spectrum of color. So we got the cool colors, the green, the blue, and the purple. Those are the high grades. And then the bottom grades are the yellow, orange, and the red. Those be the warm colors if you didn't take art class in school. And if you want to keep up with all things Matt Damsel, please subscribe, like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. The links will be below in the description. Click it. I gotta stop filming these things at 4 in the morning. Gotham Season 5, Episode 4. This episode opens with a very impactful scene of the tragic aftermath of Haven. It's actually quite emotional for being an opening scene. It feels like you're watching a real American tragedy. It's horrible, but, you know, filmmaking-wise, it's a good thing. This event brings people together. It even kind of humanizes Barbara a little bit. A big thing about this episode is the dynamics between certain characters. There's a very cool team-up between Nigma and Lucius Fox. And we've seen a little bit of their adversarial encounters in past seasons. This time they're working together, and it actually works very well. I would love to see more of it. Not that this hurt the episode by any means, but I just had an idea. I was thinking, why didn't they have Bruce be the one that helps Lucius figure out what was going on with the Haven bombing, because that would have incorporated so much of the Batman detective skill that we really haven't seen a lot of in this series. Not taken away from the Nigma thing, I really loved it. I just think that would have been a cool thing to incorporate. Nigma is really the star character of this episode, which is a nice change from the little bits and pieces we've been seeing in the previous episodes that were just, they didn't really fit. The Nigma mystery became the most interesting thing yet, I think. It really kept me engaged, and I loved all the twists and turns it took, and we get to a place I did not expect. The plot thickens immensely. It becomes, not an au jus, but what the fuck are the cream soups? You know, that. We finally get to see some more Jeremiah in this episode, and a little more Echo, you know, our Harley Quinn. I don't care if they say they're not the Joker, they're not Harley Quinn, you know, because the producers have changed their minds a million times. You can't believe them. They're clearly meant to be the characters that we know they are. Jeremiah and Echo's dynamic, it feels very much straight from the comics, the Arkham games, the cartoons. It was very well executed. I would say there wasn't enough of it in this episode, but, you know, more episodes to come, so. Bruce and Alfred are following Selina to Jeremiah and Echo, because we all know what Selina, and some stuff ensues. That's all I can really say. I don't like to make these things super spoilery, but most of the people watching these probably have already seen the episodes, so it's like a nice middle ground. Yeah, some big stuff happens there, and didn't mean much because I've seen the trailers, you know, for the next few episodes. They release these trailers with so many spoilers, it's ridiculous. And Jim's very horny in this episode. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, and that's really all I'm gonna say about that. Aren't we all? One nitpick I have in this episode, and it really does bug me, but it's not a showstopper, but the moment, and you'll know what I'm talking about, where Nigma looks at his hand and he has the writing on his hand where he thinks it says inmate, and it says I-N space A space T. There's no way that could spell inmate. The space between the A and the T, what was that? Does that space not matter? You're supposed to be the Riddler. Episode 5, we start with quite the grabber. We're introduced to a new character named Eduardo Dorrance, and this character is instantly compelling and quite intimidating, and they're going after the Haven Bomber. I won't reveal who that is. Penguin and Enigma have a moment in this episode, and it is pretty darn satisfying. It's a very villainous sort of mobster sort of scenario they go through with each other, and I found it strangely endearing. Corey Michael Smith's performance in this scene is near perfection. I think he really proved why he's playing the Riddler in this show. One problem I have with this show is a lot of the extras, a lot of the, you know, small roles that have like one dialogue line or whatever, they're generally not that good of actors, and I feel, even though they're not that important of a participant in this show, a show is only as strong as its weakest actor, and you know, hurts the experience a tad. Another nitpick while I'm in the process of inserting them. There's a moment in here where Harvey and his team with Eduardo throw a gas grenade through a door at Penguin's place. It didn't, what was the point of that? Usually a gas grenade, it's either tear gas to, you know, shuffle them out, or it's like to hide you. They literally threw a gas grenade in there and then walked in and stared at each other. Fantastic moment between Selina and Bruce in this episode. You can really see that Cameron Beacondova, who plays Selina Kyle, is really into it as an actress. She is giving it her all this season. You can just see the shift in performance. It's really good. Mild spoiler here, but Jeremiah, he's not dead. The way they explain that is the biggest load of bullshit I've ever seen in my life. This motherfucker was stabbed 9 times. Echo wakes him up and he says, "Ouch. I had to let Selina thrust the knife into my flesh at least once." 9 times. And on top of that, Echo clearly said he wasn't wearing armor, because she said if he was wearing the armor she'd prepared, this wouldn't have happened. I'd have rather they went back to their old ways and brought him back to life with Indian Hill. It would have been more realistic. But anyway, once we get past that, it's pretty cool. There's a shocking moment there that, again, we already knew was coming from all the promos they release. I also want to give props to Cameron Monaghan for the voice he came up with for Jeremiah. It's very original and it works very well. I like it. I'm more of a Jerome fan myself, but I do appreciate what he did with this version. There's a moment in here where he said, it makes me laugh because of how stupidly aggressive it was, and it's when the doctor very, very politely says, "I'm sure you'd like to see the results, sir." And he's like, "Indeed I would." Like, he's like, yeah, no shit, indeed I fucking would. Episode 6 is directed by Ben McKenzie, who plays Jim Gordon. He does a fine job. There are some very enticing camera work and direction throughout this entire episode. You can really see it has a style of its own. It stands apart from the rest of the episodes. Very high octane in the beginning, and that shutter speed, though. We're introduced to a new character named Magpie, who really serves as a plot device to bring Penguin and Selina together, of all people. Surprisingly, that dynamic does work pretty well. Some new alliances are formed, one in particular, Jim Gordon and Riddler, and I really dig it. They devised some strategies together that were pretty ingenious. Little scene, something to do with an operation taking place on somebody. And I found it very unrealistic that they were not sedated or under some sort of anesthesia. There's a very pivotal scene, an altercation between Jim and somebody who you probably know. And I absolutely love the direction that Ben McKenzie gave for this scene. The camera work, there's a lot of long shots and close-ups that cut together seamlessly, and it's such an artsy episode altogether. I love the camera work. Lee Tompkins returns this episode. There's a twist involving her that I thought was absolutely pointless. It's brought about for like a minute, and it gets resolved in like a minute. I think that was lazy writing. I think they just said, well, we have to continue this storyline that we started at the end of last season, that something happened to her, and it has to go somewhere, but we don't want it to take the place of everything else that's happening, so let's just address it, and then unaddress it. Undress it. Kinky. I'm very sorry for the number of times I've said the word twist in this review, but there's another twist regarding Barbara, and it's cool if you didn't see it coming. I saw it coming for a couple of reasons. This season has a tendency to end episodes with Jeremiah. I think that's going to change next week, but I also fear that next week will be the last we see of him until the final episode. They really like to sprinkle Cameron Monaghan's performance in there and then just take it away. But it is a very exciting ending that leaves you very, very curious. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a thumbs up, as it really does help. If you didn't like the video, please leave a thumbs up, as it really does help. And share with your friends, share on Facebook, share on Twitter. Sharing is a big part of how these things get around. I really don't want to work tomorrow.